The church bells had stopped ringing, but her sobs echoed louder than any wedding hymn. Raindrops fell like shattered promises as she stood on the steps, trembling in a white dress that now clung to her like a reminder of everything that had just broken. Everyone was gone. The guests, the music, even the man who was supposed to be waiting for her at the altar. But as she stood alone in that empty silence, a familiar voice called her name, one that shouldn't have been there, but somehow always was. Maya never imagined her wedding day would end like this. All her life, she had followed the rules, done the right things, made the safe choices. She had agreed to marry Rayan not because her heart belonged to him, but because it seemed like the logical path. Stable job, charming smile, well-respected, family, her parents approved, her friends envied. But deep inside, she knew something was missing. She just never had the courage to admit it. Until he ran, and that's when Azan appeared. Azan had always been the one who made her laugh when she wanted to cry. He was the wild spark to her well-planned life. Childhood friends turned teenage confidants. They drifted apart when college, and families pulled them in different directions. But he was always there, somewhere in the background, silently watching over her happiness. Even when it didn't include him, she never thought she'd see him again, especially not today. When everything had collapsed, I heard what happened, said, stepping out of the shadows, soaked just as much by the rain as by emotion. I didn't come here to fix things. I just couldn't let you be alone. And that's when she broke down. Tears poured freely now, Ra, not just from heartbreak, but from the weight of all the years she had suppressed her truth. She looked into his eyes, those same eyes that once looked away the day she told him she was engaged. She had seen them cloud with pain back then, but now all she saw in them was steady, unshaken love. I don't know what to do, she whispered. Everything is gone. Everything's ruined. Azan didn't respond immediately. He reached into his coat and pulled out a crumpled handkerchiefers from years ago. You dropped this on the last day of college? I've kept it all this? Time it's silly, I know, but some things are hard to let go. She stared at it, then at him. And suddenly, it was like time rewound itself, not to erase the pain, but to remind her of the truth she'd buried under duty and expectation. He extended his hand not as a hero, not as a rescuer. Just as the man who had always been quietly in love with her, her hands trembled as she looked at it. Everything in her life had just unraveled. But right now, in this moment, she had a choice. Not the one her family had made, not the one society had praised, but hers. Still in tears, her voice shaking, she whispered, "Yours or no one." The days after were not a fairy tale. Her parents were furious. Friends gossiped. Society judged. She moved out of the house she'd lived in her entire life. She gave up the carefully constructed reputation she'd built. She even lost her job temporarily when the scandal reached the office grapevine. But Azan stood by her side. Every night, when the world weighed too heavily, he would hold her hand and remind her, "You chose love, and love always wins." There were nights they had to share instant noodles on the floor of a small apartment. Days when she cried from exhaustion, trying to find her footing again. But for the first time, her life felt real. There was laughter again, raw, not rehearsed. And slowly, one by one, the people who truly loved her came back, understanding her strength. Years passed. They opened a small cafe together called Second Chances. It became more than just a place for coffee. It became a place where broken people found warmth. And every time a bride walked in with tear-filled eyes, or a young man sat quietly in the corner after a heartbreak, Maya would walk over, pour them tea, and share her story. She would tell them how sometimes the life you planned isn't the life meant for you, that sometimes the greatest strength is choosing what your heart whispers, even when the world shouts something else. And as they left, just a little more hopeful than when they came in, she would look at the man behind the counter, the one who had never given up on her, and smile. Because once upon a time, when everything had fallen apart, she took his hand and said, "Yours or no one." She never looked back. Moral message: Love that's chosen with courage is stronger than love forced by fear. In a world full of expectations, the bravest thing you can do is listen to your heart.